Here we go, tech tip. Whenever you take your gloves off, you want to let them dry them out. And then when you want to put them back on, it's real important. Take a deep breath. There you go.
Now try to stick your hands in it.
Welcome to Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoatings. This week's episode of Sam's Garage, Sam and Kevin Ford install a sport shifter from Low Car Performance in the Jeep Rock Crawler. Then Sam and Doug Harris install the rear lower control arms in the Alpha 1 GTO. Kevin's Jeep gets some products from Design Engineering for heat protection and sound dampening. Then special guest Phil Pataki shows us his unique products to protect and store your vehicle. Rock crawling requires complete control of the vehicle at all times. One important component to have control over is the transmission. Kevin has supplied a sport shifter from Low Car Performance for the Jeep. The shifter will allow him to stay in whichever gear is necessary when climbing over rocks.
I've been using low car shifters in custom builds for many years. But Kevin, when you guys added the sport mode to these shifters, that was a real game changer.
Yeah, we saw the need with all the electronic transmissions, the 6 speeds and 8 speeds, 10 speeds, that we needed to have an option to give that functionality. So when you come down, you can pump over, just like a modern car, you can shift up, shift down. We actually went even farther and have a Gen 2 version of this that addresses a few more issues like neutral safety, backup lights, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that way you guys can make the new car just as functional and safe as the OEM car you took the powertrain out of to put in your class.
That's right, and that's why I want to go ahead and put one in the Jeep.
Now this Jeep has a 4-speed. How are you going to use it with a 4-speed?
So this will work with a 4L80 if you have aftermarket controller for the transmission. You know, Holley, we're going to use a Holley Dominator in this, and it's got the functionality for sport shift. So we'll just hook up the wires, program it in the computer, and we'll be set. We get on the rocks, we can choose what gear and stay in that gear. And
it's not going to get out of that gear. And if you guys are on the dyno, this is very important. You can put it in a gear, keep the torque converter unlocked, because that's important, and keep that gear from a low RPM pull all the way to the red line. Usually it bumps down if you don't have that kind of control.
You really want to have all the control. They just don't know the terrain that's up ahead. They can't see it. So
absolutely. You notice that there's no seat in this Jeep. Kevin has not fit himself in it yet totally, so we got a little box on there for him to sit on so he can get himself a good position. Then when he can reach the shifter and he's got a good, comfortable position, we'll go ahead and drill some holes and bolt it in.
Right, and we're just doing mock-up again, just like everything else, so we're not actually going to follow through with the entire hookup. We're not going to wire it. We got another electronic device, you know, we've got different cables. We don't have a transfer case. Right. This is just a mock-up transmission, actually. So we're going to have transfer case shifters when we get the transfer case, because it'll have 2 sticks, one for the front, one for the rear, four-wheel drive,
But you're not really messing with the transfer case.
You got high and low, and then you got front and rear, and you got 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive. So there should be 3 levers. They're going to be somewhere in here, so I just wanted to think about it. And the shifter, we do want to be able to reach, because if let's say we're going up a big hill and the front's going to come over, we want to be able to get back into reverse or neutral pretty quick. So we don't want it to be, up here, and we don't want it back here.
And you want to be able to put it in sport mode and comfortably shift it without reaching.
Yeah, absolutely. And keeping in mind that if my wife or Travis want to drive this, they got to be able to reach it too.
That's true. So we have to put it somewhere over here.
The way we've designed this, we're going to have a nice little bend, go back down under here.
It's also very important that before you guys do any kind of drilling, just stick your head up under there and make sure you're not going to interfere with something causing yourself a lot of money, okay?
Definitely don't want to drill into the transmission.
That would stink. You know, Kevin, that looks really good. I think we mounted it in a position where both you and Travis can drive this Jeep. And we have to consider, like you said, you can have 3 levers here. And this is just a trans tunnel. You want to have something that's got good integrity to bolt to. So when you're doing that, make sure you also deburr your holes. We're gonna be doing a console over this, right?
Yeah, once we've got all the levers in, the cables in, we're gonna have some electrical. We don't want that exposed, tripping over it and all that. So we'll build a nice little console, keeps it clean. We'll bring all the cables in through the same spot. We got plenty of room under there.
Maybe incorporate a cup holder in there.
That's right.
And the next one, we're gonna be doing bars to mount the seats, and we'll mount the seats left and right. That'll be later. It's gonna look really good.
We've said it over and over, but taking baby steps like this is really important to keep from going backwards. If we finish this and then we put those bars in to mount the seats and the cables are in the way, you know, we're just gonna have to pull that back out and start over. So it's easier just to get what we need, where we need it, and then go back and finish it.
And, you know, that gives us room to also mount that battery cutoff switch that we've been talking about.
That's right, and that's gonna give us a whole new area in that console to make sure that we hide it and that nobody gets contacted with it.
Can't wait for you guys to see that battery cutoff switch. It's real cool.
Welcome back to Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoating. Sam and Doug work on replacing the lower control arms with new fully adjustable billet arms. The upgraded control arms will provide new adjustability that was not available from the factory. Along the way, they'll give us some tips on how to remove stubborn, rusted, and seized up bolts.
Doug and I have already tackled the front suspension of our GTO project. We're going to go on to the rear suspension, giving it the same treatment by removing the factory control arms and replacing it with aftermarket billet ones.
Yeah, the aftermarket billet's going to give us all of the control that we need. We can get all the adjustment in to get this puppy to really handle.
Exactly right.
One of the tech tips is we have a lower control arm pin here, and then we have on the very bottom, and what's very typical, what they'll do is you have a shaft that goes all the way through, and then they grind a little slot, so when the pin drops through, it locks everything in place. It's real important that you put a nut when you get ready to bang it out so you don't destroy all the threads. If you put the nut onto it, then that'll take the impact as you get ready to start to release it out.
In a case like this, an air hammer is not going to work very well. You're going to have to use real blunt force. So that's why I got a big sledgehammer and some good punches. This is an extension. Used to be 1/2 inch. Check it out now, it's like a 1/4 inch. But it does the job, so.
We're setting up the torch so we can go ahead and heat the material around the outside of the pin. And what that'll do is it'll cause the material to expand. It'll give us more room to knock the pin out. Right now the pin that we've got in there is just absolutely wedged in from time. I'm sure it's got some rust and some corrosion that's just holding it in place. So what we've got to do is open everything up by heating the metal. Make sure that you don't get the material cherry red. You want to keep the torch head moving because you don't want to change the composition of the material by getting it too hot, because if you're using certain types of material, it can get very hard and very brittle. So as you're putting the heat to it, keep that flame moving. And if you're going to go ahead and you use penetrating oil onto it, let everything cool down before you put it in. Put penetrating oil at the beginning, then wait a little bit, add heat to it, let it cool, and then go ahead and put some more penetrating oil to get everything to break free.
Then what we're going to do is remove the straps that are holding the bottom portion of our control arm into the inside subframe of the car. We're going to remove this mount that holds a differential in place. That'll get us to the rear bolts of the control arms. We're going to remove these two front straps. That whole arm's going to come down. We're going to replace it with new billet ones. Items that require an alignment, like this control arm, as you can see, I got 1, 2, 3, 4 points of adjustment. But I want to make sure to get to the alignment rack without killing the tires. So you want to put it on the table and get yourself pretty close. There's going to be adjustment both here and here. What you don't want to do is adjust these out all the way and then you've got very little threads in here, whereas you have room for adjustment here. So do the adjustments evenly so that you have good amount of threads inside the arm. That's going to give you a lot of integrity. Doug and I have our rear lower control arms installed, and as you can see, just like the front, we removed all the bushings and replaced everything with solid mounts. So what this is going to do is remove any chance of torque steer. And what torque steer is, anytime you have torque on the suspension and the bushings move or bind, it's going to change the alignment, changing the steering.
Everything that we've installed is extremely solid with the Heim joints onto it. It's fully adjustable. It's made out of a single piece billet aluminum. It's got a tremendous amount of strength. With this, we'll get all the adjustment that we want. We can lay as much power down as we need, and it'll be in a lot of fun. It'll handle extremely well.
Yep, and the final installation here is going to be when this knuckle goes into the shaft right here. This guy's going to lock everything in place. just like that. But I'm not gonna go ahead and install that yet because we're gonna be doing a brake upgrade and coilover setup on this. So we're gonna be installing this last.
Yeah, and remember guys, when you're doing this, keep everything loose. We're still going through the build process. You want to be able to make everything where it'll attach real easy, and then we'll start to tighten it down.
Now back to more Sam's Garage. Kevin's Jeep is back for some heat wrap and sound dampening products from Design Engineering. They'll use the heat wrap to protect the fuel cell from the sun and other elements while out rock crawling. The sound dampening material will be used to line the transmission tunnel and minimize road noise.
Anytime we build custom vehicles, especially like this rock crawler, we take a lot of the luxuries that silence the vehicle and make it heat resistance, insulating the vehicle out of the vehicles when we build them.
Right.
We took the carpet out, we took the sound deadening out. Underneath the hood, there's sound deadening on the firewall. We took that out.
Yeah, this thing's a tin can. I mean, it's
We
everything's
want to
gonna rattle.
replace some of that.
Yeah.
DEI has a whole lot of products in sound deadening and heat management. So we're going to take this heat barrier that normally you could put in your tunnel above the transmission, and it's got adhesive backing. In this case, it's also made for fuel cells. We're going to take this, cut it in half, and that'll give us plenty of material to go all the way around the cell.
That'd be great.
Yep. And then we'll have a couple more items that we're going to put on the floor of the Jeep and under the hood, giving us heat management and, like you said, take that tinniness out of it, because now it's all sheet metal.
You know, in this case, we don't know where the exhaust is going to run, but if we have the pipes coming right by this, we don't really want to heat up our fuel for performance and safety.
And also think about this, you're going to be rock crawling.
Yeah.
You'll probably be in the desert at some time, and you're going to be underneath the sun going really slow, and this thing's going to get heat soaked.
Right.
So it'd be a good idea to put a heat barrier on it.
Now that you and Travis have that gas tank taken care of, let's get the ting out of this center console and add a little bit of thermal protection, just so when we're running down, our transmission's not heating up our shifter lever and those coils are thinning up there.
And the items we're going to have in our cup holder. Don't forget that.
That's right. What is this, Sam?
This is what you would find underneath the carpet. In between the floorboard and the carpet, it's a sound deadening material, and it really makes a big difference, but it also adds some padding to the carpet, like in a Bentley or something, you know what I mean? And this is something you guys could find on DEI's website as well. You're making those holes, Kevin, so that the hardware can come up through the material that we're placing down. That way we get a good flush adhesive.
It is actually thermal acoustic control, so this will help.
Bang on the side of that tunnel, just so they can feel what a tin sounds like before we show them what the boom mat does. Hear that rattle? I do it to that.
That's impressive. Listen.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. That looks good, Kevin. Not only does it look good, but it's going to be very functional.
Yeah, I'm excited about the idea of having this extra safety. And the boom mat up front, I'm shocked. I'm impressed at how well that sounds.
Yeah, like you guys heard the difference between the floor and the tunnel itself. That was just one piece of boom mat on the shield. Now, can you imagine if we did the whole floor?
That would be incredible. And we used it on the bottom side in this application because we're going to be up high. It's not going to get wet or have any issues. And we got enough clearance. And it gives me room to continue welding and doing things on the top.
Absolutely. And for you guys, if you've noticed some of the German cars, a lot of the import cars will have a blanket over the battery protecting it from the heat of the engine bay. Well, DEI has something like that as well. If this was a regular JK or a JL, there is a battery box that goes around the battery, and they've got a kit to be able to surround that battery with their heat wrap, giving it protection from the engine bay. That's going to make a big difference. It's going to keep the battery living a little bit longer.
Yeah, and I learned watching the show last year that they have pre-cut kits for several cars.
Absolutely. If you're going to put carpet in your car, like let's say my Cadillac, you can get a pre-cut kit,
Yeah.
put it down, cover the entire floorboard. Then you saw the mat that we showed you earlier where you can put that underneath the carpet, get a second layer of protection and sound deadening, put the carpet over it, and you got good cushion underneath.
Great products. I've always used them on headers. I've never used this stuff. I'm glad we got to do it.
And we're definitely going to wrap those headers with the heat wrap when we go ahead and put them on.
Welcome back to Sam's Garage, presented by NH Oil Undercoating. Phil Pataki from Car Capsule has come to Sam's Garage to talk about his unique products to protect and store your car, motorcycle, and even boat. The car capsule provides 365, 24/7 protection for your vehicle application, protecting it from dust, mold, mildew, moisture, and even more. Now let's have a look at what Phil has in store for us today.
All right, you guys may think your ride is protected in your garage, even one as clean as this one, and we want to be able to protect them. You saw that Supra we pulled out earlier. That thing was in this garage for 3 weeks, and I keep it clean. You saw the dust on it.
Right. I mean, everyone thinks their garage is clean until they get one of these and they look on top of it and see all the dirt and dust, and then they pull their car out, whether it's 6 days, 6 months, 6 years, it comes out spotless, just like it was detailed. So the way you put it away is the way you take it out.
And it keeps the moisture and humidity out of there, which is really important.
Yeah, so our fan, it's small and people don't realize how powerful it is, but continuously moving air, like air masses, never condensate. So if you don't have condensation, you have no mold, mildew, rust, or corrosion. So it's dry. When this concrete starts to sweat, if it did, it's dry in there because that basement is super thick, not going to let moisture through it.
And you won't get that moldy smell either. Now I'm looking behind me, this is a nice new feature. What do you call this one, and what changes did you make to this?
So this is our Signature 2.0, if you will. So we came out Signature Edition a few years ago. We had the checkerboard floor, and last year we debuted our carbon fiber model. Everyone really dug that road design. So now all our Signature models come with the carbon fiber floor, road look design, and actually it's better because it's thicker, as I told you. Mm-hmm. Black and white would bleed through it. This you don't, no matter where you park your car, it's not going to notice it.
Absolutely,
so
yeah. Even if it's dirty, you got dust. You may not have road grime or oil on there, but you have dust on there that when you drive through your driveway, you can see it on the floor. This floor looks good because it looks like, would you say all roads lead to car capsule?
Yeah, that's right. All roads lead to car capsule. We protect and present the finest vehicles in the world. Driving on our road, zip it closed, you're good to go.
And tell us about the LED lights you have incorporated in this unit.
So this model comes with an LED light kit. So you get a remote control, you get different colors, different functions, and it just accents. In a dark garage, you come out to your man cave, this garage, your pole barn, and it's snowing outside, and you get to see your ride and see it lit up. It really looks awesome.
And sometimes I like to go sit in the garage and just spend a little time with my ride. And something like this, it makes you feel like you have a die-cast car, full size, in its case, sitting in front of you.
Hence the showcase. A bad day and you pull in with your daily driver next to it and you get to see if this was your C8 and you're like, wow. I mean, I can't wait to get that out. It's covered, but it's not covered.
So you don't want to back up your car. You don't want to turn on your car when it's backed up in the showcase. You recommend just pulling it in forward.
Yeah, as tempting as it is, when it's pulled in this way, you got the main door open, you fire it up, all those exhaust fumes leave the unit, and you don't have to worry about your safety or fumes building up in there.
Absolutely. And Car Capsule has protection for your motorcycle and your boat. Last year we discussed the boat capsule. This year I actually purchased one, put my boat in it, and it's completely covered, sitting outside. I absolutely love it. And it pays for itself in just 1 year. You guys around me is a lot of boat storage facilities, and they only cover the top portion of your boat, just the roof. There are no side protectors, and they range anywhere from $1,800 to $2,400 a year. This pays for itself in the first year, and it keeps it fully protected.
Yeah, I mean, again, no dust, no dirt, no leaves, no mold, no mildew. The biggest problem with a boat is it's wet.
Yep.
You felt the air blowing in that thing. It's 4 times what blows in this. So you can literally put your boat away wet and we'll dry it for you. No shrink wrap, you forgot the life jacket or you forgot your registration and you got to get in there and get it. You jump in there, grab it, and your boat is pristine and you pull it out.
All about protecting your investment. That's what Car Capsule is good for.